Of course, I forget that that door does not open. Will I fix that? Probably not. Oh no. Well, isn't that just marvellous? This car was running 1 week ago when I moved it 20 feet from over there to here in this tree. I don't know why I moved it under a tree, but I did, and it's not working. Come on. I do have an idea of why it might not be starting, so we definitely need to check that out. But let's get this car back up the driveway. Let's get it somewhere better to work on that's not under a tree. Thankfully, it's a very light car, so the handbrake's off, isn't it? I'm not just being completely moronic. Firmly off and firmly in neutral. Not an inch. Okay, great. Well, that's another problem then. Well, that was just fantastic. Oh, did I kill it? That might live to tell the tale. I'm not used to flying this thing, in case you hadn't noticed. Oh no, I've broken it. So this is my 1985 Porsche 944 that was basically left abandoned on somebody's driveway for 12 years until I bought it, and I managed to get this old girl started and took her for a spin, just a few miles around the block here, if you like. And now what I'd like to do in this video is I'd like to turn this into a somewhat reliable summer fun daily drivery, maybe not a daily driver, back road blaster. That's the plan, but we've obviously got a lot of issues that need addressing before that is even close to being a reality. I'm left with no choice then, am I, but to just work here like this. Remove my bonnet pins. This is silly. It's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever done. Why did I park it here? I think the injectors are sticking. So here's what I'm going to do. I've got a power probe here. So I'm just going to hook this up to the battery, and then I'm going to basically just zap these injectors. And so obviously because this car sat for so long, I just think the injectors are sticking. And I don't think that the electricity, the amount of electricity, whether that's amps, voltage, probably amps, that's being supplied to the injectors isn't enough to make them open when they're all connected like this. So I've got my power probe hooked it up directly to the battery, and I'm just going to give each injector a dose of electricity to make it fire by itself and see if that unsticks. See if that unsticks them. And so this is actually going to make the injector fire once I push this button. So I'm just going to do that. Shush. I don't know what that means. I should probably find out. It probably means something bad. I'm just going to do that to all 4 of the injectors, see if it unsticks them, and then I'll try starting the car again. Right. Come on, I'll go. Please. Right, so as you can see, I've pulled the fuel rail out with all of the injectors still on there. I've hooked up my little Zapparua device to this one, and we'll take a look at what comes out when I zap it. So I've got the fuel pump relay jumpered so that the pump is running continuously. I think you can hear it. So if I give this injector a bit of a zap, there you go. That's working quite nicely. So I'm just going to do that now for all 4 of these injectors. Actually, look, I've got, let's just do the second one now. So you can see that works lovely like that. So I'll do the other 2 and then I'll just try starting the car again. I'll fit these back in, see what we get. What? I can hear the injectors clicking. It ran 1 week ago. It just started up and I drove it from there to here, 20 feet away. Not a problem. Now it doesn't want to know again. I just don't know. It wants to go. Right, so when it runs, this engine runs really nicely. So I don't know if it is a wiring issue or, you know, an electricity supply issue, because I haven't done anything to the supply and it's running nicely. It's on startup. Now it could be that the injectors aren't getting enough electricity to overcome whatever's inside them. Was it a solenoid or something in the injectors, because the injectors are sticking, or it's just not supplying enough electricity on startup. Do you see what I mean? It's either there's some kind of mechanical resistance in the injector, or it's not being supplied enough electricity. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to attack the problem from both ends. I think we need to refresh, at the very least, clean these injectors out to try and mitigate that problem on startup when the car's been sitting for a week. And I think I need to go through some of this electrical system and work out what might be going on there as well. And now I can see some kind of smoke or steam. What's that? I can hear water as well. Why can I hear water? What on earth is going on? Where's that coming from? Oh, fantastic. Oh, isn't that just brilliant? I'm going to need a new radiator, aren't I? I'm not putting that rad seal stuff in. All right, the car's just been off for a couple of minutes. I just want to see if it starts up again. So there's adequate electrical supply under these conditions to the injectors, otherwise it wouldn't do that, would it? All right, okay. So let's take a look at this injector problem. There's someone I need to call quickly. I got your details off of Google. I saw on your website that you do injector cleaning. Yeah. Do I have to book them in, or can I just bring them straight down to you? Okay, yeah. Yeah, fantastic. Okay. Let's get these injectors out quickly. So that's all 4 injectors out. I mean, if you look at the outside of them, it would not surprise me if it turned out that these were the original injectors. They're all in a similar kind of state, but the outside appearance does not really concern me, to be honest. I just want to get these cleaned out, I think, and then you can get new O-rings and this hat majigger thing that sits on the end. I think you could do with a little bit of a new seal kit. But let's go to see this company, see if they can flush them out and see if that helps any of our problems. It's a damn sight cheaper than buying new injectors. You can buy new injectors for these still, not Bosch ones, I don't know what brand they are, £80 a piece, or you can get them cleaned, I think, for about 20, he said on the phone. So let's go and do that. Right, I just dropped those off with those guys with their current workload. They're saying a couple of days turnaround to get them all cleaned out. Said it shouldn't be a problem whatsoever. So now I've got some other parts to buy. Need to get that brake, that rear brake unseized. Yeah, I'm gonna buy a couple of bits. Oh, and a radiator, and then I think we'll reconvene in a few days' time. Okay, so it is a couple of days later and I haven't done a single thing on this car for one very simple reason, and that was because I actually wanted to see if I could isolate the problem that we were having starting this car cold to the injectors needing to be cleaned and serviced. So I have now got the injectors back, and I've got this cool little report as well. So I know there's a load of you thinking, oh, you can clean injectors yourself, you know, you can kind of jerry rig a little thing onto the injectors with a battery and you can pulse them and spray carb cleaner or brake cleaner down them. I know you can do all of that, but by taking it somewhere and getting them professionally cleaned and serviced, what they've done as well, look, as you can see that they've actually fitted new O-rings top and bottom, and they've also fitted the new, I think it's called a pintle. I kind of learnt that a minute ago. So they've fitted all of that. And so what they also did was what it says here: filters, O-rings and pintle caps replaced. The injectors have internal corrosion, which has been greatly reduced due to ultrasonic cleaning. 2 of the 4 injectors also had a minor leak, which has stopped following the cleaning. And these pintle caps provide a great spray pattern, so they properly go through it, you know, the ultrasonic cleaning. They properly flow test them, so they know that they're flowing correctly, they've got the right spray pattern, all of that. So that's great news. So yeah, I did mean to start going through the electrical system. I was going to, you know, test the wires, I suppose, and I was going to clean up all of the grounds. But really, I just want to see if just cleaning the injectors was actually our problem. So what I'm going to do right now is just fit these injectors back in turn the key and see what happens. The engine is obviously, well, it's 2 days later, so it's dead cold. So let's get these injectors in and see if it's made a tiny shred of difference, or whether I'm going to be chasing this problem for weeks or months. Okay, and so moment of truth. I've primed the fuel pump by just jumpering the relay with a cable, so that's good. There are no leaks up here at the fuel rail. So let's just turn the key now and see what happens. This will be amazing if this just starts. It's just going to be the best thing ever. Nothing. Won't even crank. Well, that's good. What? Won't even turn over. Why won't the car turn over? What? Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Is the relay? Yeah, the relay's connected. What? It's always just one thing after another. Always. What is happening? Why won't you crank? What? So I'm just going to do the old bash the starter with a hammer trick. See if that resolves anything. Yeah. Right. So, if this is your first time seeing this car, there's a couple of things you need to know about it. Now, in its past life, this car has been fettled by someone just a little bit ropier, probably even than me. We've got some rather large electrical issues. This is how the car came into my ownership. We've got all the fuses and all of the relays just dangling. And the main problem is that at some point in its life, this car has had an aftermarket stereo and also an aftermarket alarm. And what's happened is there's kind of all of these connectors, and you can see old speaker cable there. There's a load of plugs that are just dangling there, and lots of stuff in here is just electrical taped together. There's absolutely loads of it, all just randomly in here. It's bodged. It's just completely bodged together. And then if we come back over here to the driver's seat, you can see we've got all of these sorts of things here. That looks like the old, that looks like the old alarm button. That's not actually connected to anything whatsoever. But can you see those two wires in there that are connected to the back of the steering wheel? Well, I just wiggled those, and that's what made the car spring to life. I don't know what those wires do, but you can see that they've kind of been, well, I hope you can. You can see that they've kind of just been wound together and soldered, it looks like. You know, someone's just really screwed with the electrics of this car. I don't know as I'm going to be able to fully sort it out, but if I now know you've just got to kind of wiggle that, it's almost a bit of a security feature, other than the fact that thousands of people watch this video. So, well, that's a good news. And I'm sitting here now just listening to the engine, and that is 100% idling nicer than it was. That's way smoother. Let's give it a bit of a rev. Oh, that's way nicer. And then of course, let's just turn the car off, start it again just to make sure everything's golden. Yeah, okay. Right, moving on now to a much larger job. So what are these bigger jobs that I speak of? Well, we know that the radiator needs replacing. It's definitely a bigger job, and I've got a new radiator here. That's just it's an eBay special. I imagine it's pure Chinesium. It was the cheapest one I could find, because don't forget, my goal here is just to have just a little bit of fun this summer. I'm not restoring this car. It's very ratty, as you can see. I just want to have a bit of fun. The radiators for this go all the way up to something like £1,200, and yeah, not spending that. So that should get us around just fine. But then a much bigger job than that is actually I need to replace the timing belts on this engine. I've got absolutely no history with this car. I've got no idea when the timing belts were replaced, or if they even ever have been. I think this car's got over 100,000 miles on it as well. So just to make sure, we're going to replace the belts. I don't think it's that big of a job. I definitely shouldn't have said that. Definitely shouldn't have said that. I can't believe I just said that. But by the book, it's not that big of a job. And whilst I'm in there as well, I will also change the water pump. Now, it's really important that you do change the belts on these cars. So they are belt driven, it's not chain driven. This is an interference engine. So if the cam belt was to snap, you got to imagine the pistons are pistoning up and down as hard and as fast as they possibly can be, and the valves are opening and closing, and valve meet piston, piston meet valve. You're going to have some kind of catastrophic engine damage should the belt snap. I don't want that to happen. We want to keep this car nice, so we've got to get in here. So I mean, it's kind of lucky really that I've got to do the radiator as well, because it means that I can give myself just a little bit more room potentially. So I'm going to pull the radiator out. I'm going to disconnect a load of this stuff all on the front. This has got to come out. The distributor will come off. This front cover's got to come off. And then that should expose a load of the pulleys and that in there. And so I bought a kit. This kit kind of comprises of a few different brands, to be honest with you. But, decent brands. We've got Gates there. We've got another Continental belt. Okay, so here is the radiator. Came out really quite easily. Now it's almost impossible to tell where that leak was coming from. Now I know, because I saw it with my eyeballs, but it's kind of right in that crease. And so the very first step that I need to do is I need to get my thingamajigger onto the crank bolt there, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spin the engine over. There's a timing mark here that needs to meet up with that part of there's a mark there on the sprocket, and there's a little mark there on the timing cover. What that's going to do is that's going to tell us that, in conjunction with another mark that I'll show you down the back in a second, when that mark's lined up there and this mark's lined up there, it means that the engine is at top dead, piston number 1 is at top dead center on the compression stroke, and it's at that position that I'm going to lock the engine in place with a little tool, and then we can start stripping parts off of it. So let's just rotate this engine now, just to get these marks to line up. Okay, so I've got the mark lined up here on this sprocket. There's not a chance in hell you're going to be able to see what I can see down here, but I can see the flywheel through a tiny little access hatch, and I can just about see it with my eyes. And there's a mark there also. So when that one lines up and the camshaft lines up we're good to go. Hello. So I've just come down to do the starter motor. I don't know if you can see this. You see that hole there? That is where a big bolt for the starter motor should go. It's missing an entire bolt. So I'm gonna have to see if I've got one somewhere that can go in there to keep that in. And then to top it off, the connector there is just some kind of like house, you know, the kind of connector you'd find in your home for kind of domestic wiring. That's been MacGyvered onto the starter, and it's all split, and an electrical wizard has been working on this car, that's all I can say. Okay. Ah, my 10mm. I've just found my 10mm socket. Oh, hang on, look at this. This is the best thing ever. I don't suppose you remember in the last video I did on this, I lost my 10mm socket in there. Well, I just took the starter motor out. It was sat on top of there. So when I pulled this out, whoever finds their 10mm, that is amazing. Oh, I'm so pleased. There you go, buddy. Home sweet home. And so one of the questions that I get a lot of the time is, you know, you were in there in that part of the engine, so why didn't you do X? You were in that part of the engine, why didn't you do Y? I'll give you an example. I'm going to go down now, take these crank sprockets off, and I'm probably not going to replace the front main seal, even though I'm in there. And the reason I'm not going to is because that hole, while you're in there, has no end to it. While I'm in there, why didn't you do the front main seal? While the injector's out, why didn't I take off the inlet manifold and clean in there? And whilst the injector's out, why didn't I take off the cylinder head cover and inspect in there? And then whilst the cylinder head cover's off, why didn't I just take the camshafts out and make sure that everything, and then replace some of the seals in there? And then what, you see what I mean? It just goes on and on and on. And so I've got a bit of a policy, and it is, especially with older cars like this, I'm just trying to get on the road for a bit. It's simply a case of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Every time that you go to fix something on an old car like this as well, you're just increasing the chances that you're going to have to fix something whilst trying to fix something. So, you know, there's, you know, rusty bolts snap, brackets snap, clips snap. Every new job that you do, you're just inviting a world of pain. And, you know, this isn't a restoration. If you're restoring a car, then yeah, while you're in there, do that. Yeah, while you're in there, do that, obviously. But the goal here is to just get this car on the road. And I'm telling you this because I like it. I get emails and stuff from people all the time saying, oh, I bought a project car because I saw that you doing it and this, that and the other. And the whole game of this isn't necessarily just to work on cars. It is actually to get these on the road and enjoy them. And if you approach these things with the mindset of, oh, while I'm in there, I'll do that, while I'm in there, I'll do that, unless you are into restoring cars, you're never going to get to enjoy these things on the road. So that's why I don't. That's why I always try and set a limit. It's basically, yes, while I'm in there, I could do that. You're absolutely right. But if it isn't broke, I'm not going to. The caveat to that is if I've done research on the car and the car has a known problem with one of the components that I'm near. Hold on 1 second. No bird. Hello. Say again.
I can't turn the key in the ignition. I was just about to leave Sainsbury's.
You can't turn the key in the ignition?
Yeah, what's really weird is that the steering wheel hasn't locked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to turn the key, putting it in. Oh, hang on, it's just done it.
Right. Where was I? Oh, and the caveat to that is basically that, yeah, if I've done research on a car and I know that the component where I'm near is a known failure point, like if the front main seal, they're known for going bad, or I don't know, yeah, any part is known for going bad and I'm in there, I will make an exception and do it. That makes sense. But any component can fail at any point. So, you know, you have to draw a line. You have to draw a line. And speaking of preventative maintenance, can you notice anything else on the screen that could do with some? If you think I'm talking about the ignition system, you'd be wrong. I am, of course, talking about my hairline. Did you know that 50% of men aged 50 actually have some noticeable signs of hair loss? I didn't know that either until I was told by the good folks at Manual, who are sponsoring this video. Manual is the UK's men's healthcare company challenging the outdated notion that real men shrug their shoulders and carry on. And shrug my shoulders and just carry on is clearly something that I did. Take a look at this. This is me really not that long ago. Hair loss comes at you really quite quickly, and this is where Manual's complete hair loss plan can help. It's a powerful treatment that's proven to promote and stimulate hair growth. Here are some before and after photos from Manual's patient gallery. I'm seeing some amazing results here, and not only that, but they've got great Trustpilot reviews, and it's incredibly easy to get started. You just complete a quick self-assessment and it will recommend the best treatment for your needs. And you can buy from Manual with confidence because not only do they offer ongoing medical support with their clinicians, but they're also UK licensed medication, and there's no nasty surprises with subscriptions. You can cancel at any time. So if you want to join 500,000 men regrowing their hair, then get ahead of the game with Manual's all-in-one hair treatment. Use the link in the description below and use my code VIABLE55 to get 55% off your first order. And a massive thank you to Manual for sponsoring this video and help keeping this channel viable. And so what's really irritating now is, so this is the flywheel locking tool. This goes in where the starter goes, and then the two holes there, you're supposed to use the 2 bolts from the starter motor to now bolt this in place. But of course, because I don't have one whole bolt, it's an M14. The biggest bolt I've got with me is an M10, which means I'm gonna have to go all the way to the workshop now for just one single solitary bolt. Tres annoying. So Naomi just got back in the Golf, and she's not actually wrong. This key, look, it's sticking in the ignition. It goes in all right. You can kind of do it, but you got to force it. That's goes that way, kind of fine, but doesn't want to. So I've made videos on this car before. This is by far the worst car I've ever owned. It's a Mark 6 Golf, in case you were wondering. Does absolutely nothing but give us ginormous problems all the time. Since it's been on the channel, I've replaced so much more stuff. It's just abysmal. It's a horrible car. Oh yeah, that key's not good. I've got a future video coming out where I'm actually going to give this car away. Not 99p entry or anything like that. I'm just going to give it clean for free to one of you guys for you to deal with, because I don't want to sell this car. I don't want some poor unsuspecting person to get this car, because it's utterly cursed. So now would be an amazing time to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so that you don't miss that video when it comes out. You can have a completely free car should you wish to take this horrible thing on. I'm going to take it to the workshop now, make sure that key doesn't do, I don't know. Perfect. A little bit long, but I can trim that. Okay, and that is the water pump off. A couple of these studs are looking a little bit crusty. That's fine, I can wire brush all in there. I'm going to come in, I'm going to scrape off all of this RTV that I do believe shouldn't even be on there. You shouldn't have to put any RTV on this water pump, but everything in there looks A-okay, to be quite honest with you. Here is the old water pump. Now there is a fair amount of grime and roughness all in there, that is the thermostat. I've got a new thermostat that I will fit into the new water pump, which you can see here. That's where the thermostat goes in there. So I'll stick the new thermostat in. Just gonna basically just start hooking all of this back up to the car, get it all in there, and then, you know, try and get this done. Okay, so I've got the guide rail installed to the new pump. I've got the new thermostat installed into this pump. So I'm just going to bolt it down. I've got the torque specs. I'm just going to torque all the bolts down, and that already looks quite nice in there, doesn't it? So I was just poking around in here, and you can see that this balance shaft seal is actually leaking. There's a fair amount of oil coming out of that thing. So with my policy of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and if it is broke, fix it, I do have a new seal, so I will replace it. Which also means that I get to use one of my favourite tools that I very rarely ever get to actually use, and that is this seal puller tool. There you go, and then just pulls the seal out like that. Lovely. And that is the timing belt back on the engine there, and that is the engine spinning over. Okay, and that's the belt for the balance shafts installed. Everything's torqued down nicely. All my lines line up. There's one there. There's another one down there facing 180 degrees the opposite direction. Everything's tensioned. You have to do this crazy thing. It's hard to see, but there's a idler here, and then another, and then the actual balance shaft there. You have to get a feeler gauge in between them. Get them to 0.5 millimeter gap, and then tighten it down. It's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare, but I've got good tension on it. I can do my 90-degree twist test, so that's all jolly, to be honest with you. Now what I need to do is I'm just going to put the timing cover back on, and then reconnect the belts for the power steering and for the alternator, and then I'm going to reconnect the starter motor, and then we'll probably reconvene in the morning because the sun is setting. My dinner is going to be ready in a minute. And I quite fancy putting my feet up, if I'm honest with you. So let's reconvene in the morning with all of that back together. Hello, it is the next morning. The sun's gone in, it's genuinely quite cold. You got to love the English weather. However, I have made some progress with the car. All of the timing gear and the covers and the ignition is all now back in place. I've got the belts on down there as well, so that's a brand new alternator belt. That is the same power steering belt, purely because I completely forgot to purchase a new one. I could have sworn that I did, but I didn't. So I've put the power steering belt back on. That's all good. Yeah, all the covers back on, everything fitted up nicely. You can still see the lovely water pump there. And there's also something else on here that the eagle-eyed viewers might notice I've added. That is, of course, this bonnet badge. I've done that now. I was going to leave this right until the very end as a lovely little treat. But as it turns out, you kind of need to get down behind here and then right up just to get two nuts on the back of it. And it looks like you'd have had to take the radiator out anyway, so with the radiator currently out, it made sense. This is a second-hand badge because, well, I mean, look at the paint on this thing. You know, this is a very ratty Porsche, ratty porker, ratty P. I think that's what I'm going to call this car, ratty P. Endearing. It's a term of endearment, but a brand new badge would have looked out of place, completely and utterly out of place. So I bought a second-hand one, and now the front end of the car is, you know, somewhat more resolved. You know, it just looks better. And she needs a badge, you know, she needs a badge. and I've also refitted the starter motor. And if you're wondering, no, I didn't really tidy up any of that gammy wiring, I just kind of fitted it all back in. The reason being is because it's just limited access. So what I am going to do is I'm going to wait until I've got this car up on a ramp in my workshop before seeing to that job sometime in the future. Hopefully in the meantime it doesn't catch on fire. And I know that there's a load of you asking, because I always get comments about it, is, you know, why aren't you at the workshop? Why are you doing this here at home on the floor? And the reason is really quite simple. It's that I like being at home. I've got the missus here, I've got my little boy here, the missus makes me lunch. It was nice weather. I like spending the time outside, and also, to be honest with you, I like to stay humble and, you know, crawl around on the floor. This is how I got my start doing all of this. If you go back to my first videos, you can see just me working outside. So yeah, I like to stay humble doing it. And the other reason that I like to do this here at home is because I kind of like to show that you can do all of this kind of stuff with limited facilities. You don't need a workshop. And, you know, if that helps you guys make the decision to take the plunge and buy yourself a project car, then, you know, then I've won there, really, because the more of us rescuing these old cars like this, the better, if you ask me. And yeah, this just goes to show that you can do all of this kind of work and join in the fun at home on your driveway. And now it is time to check out what kind of abomination I've bought on eBay. So I hope it's just the right size, to be honest with you. I really should check as soon as the parts arrive, rather than when I'm about to install it, to see if they are correct. Okay, and straight away it looks as though I have bought the wrong radiator. That was actually a joke what I just said, but it was very true for this exact reason. And that reason is that, well, firstly, it's awful. Made in China, obviously. This is what you get if you buy the cheapest of anything. Look at the welds. I mean, I'm saying this as someone who can't weld. This is looks like the wrong radiator, because this looks like the one that's got the ports here for the transmission cooler. That's if you've got an automatic car. This car is a manual, and it shouldn't have those bits. Oh. So here you can see them next to each other. We've just got a bunch of extra ports on this new one that the existing one doesn't have. That's intensely annoying. Now, how much of a problem actually is that? Could I not just block off these ports by screwing a bolt into them? No, because of course I don't have the correct size. Okay, wait, it did just occur to me. I know a load of you are screaming at the screen that that's not coolant that runs through the transmission lines, is it? It's oil. So if it's oil that goes into these lines, then it means that the coolant part of the radiator is separate to these. So if I don't run anything into them, that's fine, right? And then I kind of know that because I just filled the port up with water, this oil one here, just to see if it comes out of any of the other holes, just to be absolutely sure. And look, it only comes out of that bottom, you can't get it to come out of any other port. It's isolated. It's a very scientific experiment. So what that means is I'm such an idiot. Right, what that means is I'm just going to fit this radiator. Don't need to connect anything up to the transmission cooler lines. Simple as that, really. Right, so it is a little while later, and what I've done is actually completely reinstalled everything. So the radiator is in. You can't see it now, it's behind the fan shroud. It's in. My new, you can see my new fan switch down there is in. It's it fits okay, right? There was no drama getting it in or anything like that. There's nothing to write home about. But what I did work out is that this new radiator that's gone in is actually a fair bit thicker than that radiator that came out. And so as a result, there's now this fan shroud sits closer to the engine. The radiator won't go back any further at all. It's all in there. It's you know, it's in there nice, but you can see that there's not much room now between the fan and the front of the engine. Nothing's fouling or anything like that. It's not even really close to fouling. It's just that, yeah, I mean, it's just a thicker radiator. But that's all very jolly now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick some water in here, start filling the system up, and I can put some proper coolant or antifreeze in later. We are getting into summer now, so it's not too much of a problem just for now. I know that the antifreeze has rust inhibitor in it and all of that sort of stuff. If there are any leaks in this system, you want to catch them just with water, because otherwise all of your nice antifreeze is just going to pour all out over the floor and you're going to waste a load of cash. So I've got the bleed screw removed from the top of the what's it in a jigger thing here. And I'm just going to fill this up now, watch for any leaks, and hopefully we'll get air bleeding out of the hole at the top there. You can see a load of overflow water is now coming out of there and onto the floor, which means that I'm never going to be able to tell now if anything is actually leaking. Right, this will need to be bled properly with the engine running and all of that, but what I want to do now is to see if this has all come together. I want to start the engine. Hopefully the timing is okay. I haven't screwed anything up. The engine doesn't go kaboom, and it runs just as smooth, to be honest with you, as it did before I started all of this work. Right, so what I've actually done is just removed the fuel pump relay just so I can turn the car over on the key, just to make sure that the engine doesn't click and clack, and to also make sure that the starter works. And then I'll plug the relay back in and we'll see if it actually fires up. Good news. Fantastic, that's perfect. Didn't sound like the pistons smacked living hell out of the valves or anything like that. So let's plug this relay back in and see if she fires. Kinda. Okay. Don't do that. Go on. No. Why you'll be like that? Go on. It's not happy, is it? I bet it's still these injectors, you know. I bet it's still these injectors. Obviously I had all this ignition system apart, so let's just make sure that everything is back down. The air Maduba is on, isn't it? Ah, there's a thing missing. There's a, look, I don't know if you can see that. There's a vacuum line unplugged still. That's completely my fault. I wonder if it's that. There you go, probably a massive vacuum leak, wasn't it, by the sounds of that? The way it was just cutting out. Let's see if that makes any difference. Right, that is quite noisy. I think that's the power steering pump. It's actually completely dry. I don't have any fluid. How's that dry? Oh God, I don't have any fluid. Right, so the engine itself is running absolutely sweet as a nut. So that's amazing news. There are no water leaks anywhere. That's also amazing news. But I don't want to run it too long because I don't have any power steering fluid. And I am wondering if maybe the belt is slightly too tight, which is why all of a sudden now it's playing up. I don't know. But that's great news. The timing job is done. Very happy with that. You see, this is one of the problems of working from home when all of your stuff is actually somewhere else. That is the pain of doing some of this at home, is you can't bring everything with you. And there we go, look, we've got more air bubbles coming out of that bleed screw thingamajigger, what's it there, and then I want to wait until they all come out and then I'm going to just plug it. Lovely. Okay, so the thermostat opened there, that's dead hot. Oh, I haven't done that hose up properly. I haven't done this top hose up properly. Quick. But apart from that, I'm calling this whole thing a very big success. There you go. That is great news. No leaks, no anything. So the next job that I want to do is to unstick this rear brake, because obviously it's binding. Work that out when we're trying to push it, when I tried to push it at the start, and obviously it's bound right up now. So I don't think there's any easy way to do this other than you have to take this rear caliper off and take this caliper off and just I don't know, see if we can unseize it. If not, I have bought a rebuild kit for this caliper, so if I have to fully rebuild it I will, but if I can get it unseized I shall do that first. I think that would be the easiest thing to do. It might only be kind of lightly binding, you see. So I'm just going to strip this caliper off and see what we got. Oh, that could have been real bad. A bit of heat never fails. That's not true, it does fail. It's probably now going to squirt out of here into my eyeball. 1000 degree brake fluid into the eyeball. Nothing's ever easy, is it? Ever. You can see I've pulled this caliper completely apart. Now, it's utterly seized. No matter what kind of tool you use on it, this, won't come out. Now, you can try and rebuild it, right? But in order to rebuild it, you still need to take the actual, I don't know what this bit's called, the plunger thing that comes out. This whole thing needs to come out of that assembly. Now, if that won't budge with me tightening this clamp on it the way that I was with all the force, and also using my the brake pad retractor tool, then how do you get it out? It won't go back in. How am I going to get it out? It's properly stuck in there, because a lot of usually when you rebuild a caliper, you can get an air hose, you can put it into there under thing, and it goes. That wasn't very good, was it? And then the thing pops out. The piston, that's the word I'm looking for. The piston pops out. But if the piston won't move with all of that force, I don't really know what to say, other than the fact that I probably need a new caliper, and that's probably going to be the easiest way of doing this, isn't it? Right, so this is what we're dealing with. So this is what happens when your boot splits and it stops doing its booting duties and moisture and everything gets in there. But as I start to peel this away, look at all of that corrosion in there. Look. It's not just corrosion, that's probably grease, it's probably old dry grease, but you can see in there it's also just rusty. So if I try and peel that back, I cannot believe I haven't burnt myself yet. Yes, it did just go, and it squirted scalding hot brake fluid at me. There you go, that's just unseized. Oh, fantastic news. I should probably catch that fluid in the fluid thing that I actually put there and then didn't use. Okay, I've just undone it. I've just unstuck it. Okay, I've never done this before. I've just seen this online. How I come to first do everything that I do, to be quite honest with you. Well, that's not working, is it? It's just blowing brake fluid out. Oh yeah, it's spinning, so I'm just trying to further unseize it, if you know what I mean. Loosen it up right up. That is spinning it. I might not do everything right, but I almost always get it done. You can see that there's a load of rust around it. Focus. It's just a load of rust around it where it was, yeah, some big ridges on there. I should probably depressurize this thing now. Could you imagine the boom if I crashed? Delightful. And there's kind of like two grooves. There's a flat surface to that, if you see. That has to be in the proper orientation, which I believe is like that. Something to do with pad wear, I don't know. Never seen it before. But that all looks good to me now. New boot, new piston. Very jolly. So I'm just going to reassemble the rest of the caliper now, even though I can't remember how it went. How did that go? I'll work that out, clean it up, and then get it back onto the car. Okay, so that is this caliper back together and installed, which is fantastic news. But I do now have another problem. Of course I do. And that is obviously that this brake caliper now needs bleeding. I really hope that this bleed nipple comes out. I really hope that comes out. If that snaps in there, then it's game over for the time being. Now what I'm not going to do is bleed all of the brakes, and there's a very simple reason for that, and that's because this front driver's side brake caliper has had the bleed nipple snap off from whoever was on it last, not me. It snapped off in there, and that is a bigger job trying to either drill that out. Well, yeah, I've got to drill it out somehow. I'm not going to do that here now. I want to be in the workshop with you know, put it in the vise and everything, hold it down properly. And if you drill that out wrong, it's just gonna. So I'm just going to bleed this one side. Now what I did do before I got started here is I actually clamped off the brake flexi on this side. So what I'm hoping hasn't happened, well, what I know hasn't happened is the brake fluid. So you didn't see loads of brake fluid dripping when I undid the brake pipe from the back of the caliper, and that was because I clamped it off. So what I want to do now is come up here, back into the engine bay, into this the reservoir. I'm going to get my power bleeder, I'm going to attach it to this, and then I'm going to apply some pressure. And then what that will do is apply pressure down through the system right up to where I've clamped it off. I'll then unclamp it so air doesn't go back up that way. What I'm trying to avoid is air going back that way up the pipe. So I should push all the air just straight out of here. Now, of course, this could do with a brake fluid change as well. That will get done, but it all very much rests on me being able to drill that caliper out properly when I get to that at some point. But for now, this is what we're going to do. Let's see if this works. So I've got a load of brake fluid in this power bleeder. It's going to tighten down the thing. Got the cap on there, the adapter cap thing for this. Plug it in, and I want to give it about, well, 15 psi. Not a lot. The last thing I want to do is give it too much as well, and it turns out that this reservoir is, you know, brittle and old, and it's just going to split. So now let's see what happens here. Please come off. It's a little 7mm thing. Please unscrew, don't snap. Oh, yes. That just cracked off nicely. Lovely stuff. Okay. I was worried about that. So now it's under pressure. I'm going to release the clamp. And I didn't get my thing. Hang on, where's my drain? Get my drain there, because this is going to spew fluid. And I forgot to bring my catcher, the little thing that goes on the ends and catches the fluid. So I'm going to do it like this. There you go. Fluid come out straight away. And you really, you know, don't want brake fluid all over the paint, but if you just clean it off really quickly, shouldn't be too bad. And then pressing the brake pedal obviously is going to make the pad actually come out and meet the disc, which it did. Perfect. Now let's give this a little bit of a, and I very much hope now that that job is a good one. Sweet. Right, so I thought I'd turn my hand to some nice, easy, quick wins after doing all the timing in that brake. You know, treat myself. And obviously, instantly, everything just went wrong. This is supposed to be an easy job, and this went more wrong than anything yet. So you will have seen in the previous video that someone at some point added the bonnet pins to these, and you'll see that my solution was to basically do that with screws. It's the same on the other side as well. So what I have gone and done is I went on to eBay and I bought the cheapest bonnet pin catch setup system that I could find. And you know what, it looks as though the person who did this before did the exact same thing that I did, because if you look at these holes, so there's one there, and then one there, they actually match up perfectly with that. However, over the years something has gone wrong, because when you actually get the bonnet into the correct position, you can see that they very much don't line up those holes. So in order to actually bite into metal, I have to rotate this and drill new holes kind of like that, which isn't too much of a problem, to be honest with you. That orientation, that's fine. But over here, I'd already gone ahead and drilled new holes into this one at that angle that it was previously at. You'll see there's actually a screw missing there because there's no metal under there. I just got carried away. I just got so excited at putting these on that I just went at it. So basically you're going to have one like that in that orientation, one like that, which, you know, kind of works. And I suppose it kind of suits this car because it's just as, you know, as bad as this car is. You know, they do kind of both go that way. It's just, you know, they're the wrong way around. But with these installed, you have to know that that's going to give me at least an extra 3 seconds around the Nürburgring. And then really in an ideal world, you'd weld these back up again, fit a bonnet catch and everything properly, and a cable and all of that. But you know, this is Ratty P. This is what we do with Ratty P. She's fine with it, I'm fine with it. There you go. Delightful. And I tell you what, absolutely anything has got to be better than that in there instead. Sweet. Next easy job is going to be wipers. These things are absolutely destroyed. Let's get them off of here and get some new ones installed. Right, so the battery on the camera died. Whilst it was charging, I replaced the spark plugs. These are the old ones. They're not too bad, to be honest with you. They're really not too bad. The worst one is probably this one, cylinder 4. Looks like it focus. It looks like it was running a bit rich maybe, but yeah, really not too bad. And then in their place are these Bosch, I don't know what ones they are, Bosch spark plugs. That's all I can tell you, because there's a sticker over the front. New Bosch spark plugs. So that's all cool, that's nice. I could have sworn, I'm sorry for being so useless. I could have sworn that I got a new rotor arm for the distributor. I didn't, can't find it if I did. So, but it seems to be okay anyway. The car in that sense, ignition is running fine anyway. So to be honest with you, I've only saved myself a few pounds. What else have I done? Oh yeah, 2 other things. So if you saw the first video on this car, you'll know there is a red mirror. This car came without a door mirror, and the only one that I could find on eBay that was anywhere approaching a reasonable price was this red mirror. So that's why we've got that. And then on the other side, we did have, on the passenger side, we did have this mirror. You can see it's in the correct colour. Now, this is how it came without the mirror in there. In the last video, you'd have seen that I actually put a bit of the glass in there and then zip tied it on like that. And that's because there's a backing plate that goes on the back of the glass and then kind of connects into this part, and then that's the bit where, you know, you get the articulation of the mirror. Now, I tried to actually find a new one of like these bits in here, these internal bits. I couldn't find anything. And then I came across another door mirror that was just so unbelievably cheap. I was trying to look for just glass that maybe had the plate on the back, just couldn't find any of it. And then I came across this and I just couldn't be bothered, to be honest with you, to like pull all of this glass out. It came with this glass. I didn't want to pull all of that out and get all silly. So we now have a white mirror on this side. And to be honest with you, because there's a white one on this side and a red one on this side, it actually kind of fits more now. It kind of matches more in a sense, if you know what I mean. Look, it's a rat roddy type car. Don't get your knickers in a twist, all right? Because I know there are some people that will be doing their heads in. Does not do mine in. Right, and then another thing that I've done is I've been down here in the passenger footwell and I have tidied up all of this electrics. I've mounted the big fuse and relay board box back into there. It's missing a screw. I'll probably try and find one to put in there, but it's insecure, and obviously you can see that one up there. So we're not going to be, you know, putting our feet actually on the fuse box. I can further tidy a load of this up. This is all kind of like dead wiring. It's a shame that this happened. I mean, I don't know who did all of this, but you know, it is what it is, isn't it, with these kind of cars. Not too bad. You can actually put your feet out now. That's what we want. And then the last thing I did whilst the camera was charging was I popped out to the workshop to grab some ATF, because the power steering fluid in these cars is actually not power steering fluid, it is just ATF. So let's top this reservoir up and hope that that whining goes away, and hope that this ATF doesn't just pour straight out of the bottom, out of a bad hose, or out of the actual pump itself. That was silly, wasn't it? I should have used a funnel. And so the engine is cold, so it will be one more great test to see if the engine does actually start up straight away. Oh, yeah boy. Okay, so I'm just going to bleed the steering lock to lock a few times, top it up as required. Great news, that should be sitting at the correct level. Perfect. Okay. Oh, I forgot to tell you something else that I did as well. I did come in here and clean up a load of the grounds. There's like the big main engine ground there. Cleaned up that side, cleaned up where it attaches to the block, and I think it's very difficult to see, but there's a couple of other grounds down there. I pulled them all out, managed to get a wire brush down there, clean up the surfaces and all of that. So that's jolly. That's just going to help out. And the sun's come back out as well, which is delightful. Just so bipolar, the weather here. So bipolar. And then another thing that I did consider doing, so here's the door card that was in the back of the car. This thing's it's trashed, basically. It's just it's not straight, it's bent, it's crooked. I don't have any of the screws that hold it on. To be honest, fitting this simply isn't going to offer much, if anything at all. So in the spirit of rat rod, we're just gonna rock it like this. Now, what is cool, actually, where did I put the keys? In the boot. What is cool is that the electric windows actually work. They go faster when the engine's on. Right, so what I need to do next, and I'm going to try and do this as quick as I possibly can, is this car needs cleaning again. The outside's just filthy again, and obviously we've got all fields here and everything farming, and the dust is just absolutely out of control. So that needs doing, but then I never even cleaned on the inside the first time round. So I just need to vacuum in here, just a real basic clean, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm not going to go wild. That was boring. but it does look a lot better. The outside just a bit of a tidy up, but inside, you know, it's hoovered, and I did wipe the dash with a wet rag, but just looks that much neater now. Just a slightly nicer place to spend a little bit of time. But now it is time to see how she performs. Let's get her on the road. This feels so good. Oh. It's not a fast car, but this is very rewarding, satisfying and fun, especially knowing that it's my hand that brought this car back to life. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon. And I'm dying to open this window because it is so hot in here. Oh.